Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Loads of major updates from the CDL yesterday. Confirmation that Control will be the third game mode yet again this season, despite the fact that the game hasn't even launched yet and we don't know how Capture the Flag might potentially play, but also confirmed that Grand Finals will now be best-of-7s rather than best-of-9s. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Firstly, this from Simp, and I'm sure some of you guys already have played the campaign, because apparently the campaign's out already. Some people, I'm sure, have already completed it. Apparently it's pretty good, but yeah, so Simp and co playing the campaign. People have noticed some changes either to the game or whatever. Gersh reckoned here, actually, before we look at that they patched the slide cancel. So basically the slide cancel was a possibility if you had absolutely cracked movements and could figure things out like Shotzzy could to make the slide cancel work. But it does seem like, potentially at least, that Infinity Ward are relatively committed to making sure the slide cancel is not a mechanic in any form. Probably Shotzzy can find another way to break the movement, but Scump has even said that even if you can slide cancel, is actually a great idea in this game anyway, especially if it's very taxing and difficult to do and it's not quite as smooth as it has been, let's say, in previous games. And that is one thing to mention, that yeah, we talked a lot about the slide cancel, whether it's going to be viable, whether it's not, and more than likely it's not going to be if they've maybe made another step when the game has launched here to prevent that movement mechanic being viable when the game actually does arrive. And well, it's only a week today, right? So I guess campaign came out a week earlier. Just to mention real quick, because today, I think maybe yesterday actually, was when the Halo World Championship started in terms of determining some teams that were going to be able to compete and stuff. But yeah, the main teams I think are in action from today. So OpTic's team, of course, with Formal in, I guess, are going in as favourites after winning the most recent event. And Formal's trying to lock himself up a Halo ring and a Call of Duty ring, which would be quite the story. So yeah, one more job to do, they say, going in as favourites, I guess, to the World Championship, but nothing, of course, is guaranteed. Going to be a massive weekend on the Halo front for sure. And just to say this from Adam Adamu from the Toronto Ultra, because we said yesterday, what about other teams doing a similar thing to what Minnesota Rokkr are doing? Of course, Toronto are hosting their own kind of event this season, so they don't really have to worry too much about making sure their fans have opportunities, because their fans will have the opportunity to attend their home event at Major 5. But Minnesota Rokkr and other teams that potentially don't have their own major this season might well want to consider what Rokkr are doing with bringing their fans along for some of these home series events where they just play league matches in person. And it's something that I think hopefully we'll have more and more of, and seemingly some teams are at least taking note and maybe going to get on board in future seasons. Let's dive then into the major updates that came out yesterday from the Call of Duty League in terms of the community update. Now, some stuff they didn't really say that much on, but in fairness, they did reveal quite a lot here. They changed some things, which arguably we didn't ask to be changed, but some of the changes are certainly positive, so we have to take that into account as well. Of course, we already saw what the season format was going to be, a community update number 1 with Daniel Sai yesterday and Spinner Spence as usual. Firstly, the Challengers qualification situation for Major 1. So Major 1 is going to be a Pro-Am event, just like it was at the kind of actual Pro-Am between Major 2 and Major 3 last season. But the issue with that was it was single limb, it wasn't quite as well done. There was only 4 amateur teams that attended anyway, and they get chucked straight into the groups. Now, the way this works is 8 teams qualify online. So I'm guessing in early December or really end of November, there's going to be some Challengers tournaments going on around the world where 3 North American teams, 3 European teams, 1 APAC team and 1 Latin American team will, well, 8 teams will qualify out of those regions. And then what they'll do is go to the event itself. On Wednesday, there's going to be a GSL style group format, 2 groups of 4 different teams. And from these 4 teams, as you can see, so the number 1 seed from North America, 2nd and 3rd seed from Europe, with 1 of the teams from APAC or Latin America, will play in a GSL style group. And then 2 of these teams get through, 2 of these teams don't. And then those are the 4 teams that advance to the Pro-Am with, 12 pro teams plus 4 amateur teams. So really cool stuff. Rather than just selecting the 4 teams from around the world, they're getting the 8 best teams from various different regions and letting them compete it out to try and see who the best 4 teams are to join the Pro. So this is the way it will work, and I'm pretty sure it's actually going to be the case where there's going to be a couple of GSL style groups as these are, and then once those teams are determined, then it's another GSL style set of groups where you go from 16, 12 pro teams plus 4 amateur teams, down to then 8, which is when the actual bracket will advance, the double elim bracket, for the remainder of the tournament. So really cool stuff, I think. Definitely a massive step up compared to what last year's Pro-Am was looking like. And yeah, then the groups look like the following, with number 1, number 8, number 9 here, for example. And of course, these are seeded based on actual qualifiers at the start of December, whereas last year, the numbers for the first event of the season were just determined by the previous placings of last season, despite the fact that there could could be many changes. So great step in the right direction. For example, the first seeded challengers team will go through with the 4th, 5th, and 12th best CDL team. So that's always quite nicey when it's done like that, just so you get to see, if make sure you guys can fully see this, that you know, whoever the worst team was in the qualifiers will play the best challenger team. So already it opens up the door for some rather spicy situations. And then after that, well, within these groups, you then get this situation. So this is an example here of one of these groups where you get the 4th best team playing the 1st best challengers team, and then 2 of these guys qualify, 2 of them don't. So you go from GSL in challengers through to GSL format for the pro side, and then you get your 8 teams for the double in brackets for the final couple of days of the tournament. So just absolutely great stuff compared to what we had last season. And speaking of challenges in general, there's some many more positives on that side as well. So the Elite, for example, which is still in North America and Europe, but that's now getting expanded up to 12 teams per region rather than just 8 as it was previously. And also the global finals, the challengers finals, that last year was 8 teams. There was lots of controversy about the fact that there should have been more teams allowed to go. Many pro players or many amateur players that say not happy about this at all. Doug Martin was leading the charge on that one. They tried to change it, I think, but weren't successful, let's just say. But this season, they're actually taking a big step forward with 16 teams will go to the World Championship. I think the prize money might be a little bit better as well. And yeah, so this is how it's working at Major 1 for the Challenger side. And then also, as Doug goes on to say, very pleased with Daniel Sy and his team going into the Challengers format for the new season. Everything we spoke privately about was addressed, and I literally cannot wait to complete the season. So good reports and good to see some optimism around some of the decisions that have been made. The other big things that have been confirmed here, of course, Challengers, as we can see, is what's happening in some of the grand finals, but also some of the major things with regard to the proper CDL side, but also what competitive looks like in general. Firstly, confirmed game modes. Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Control was confirmed by Daniel in the video and also in the article accompanying it. That yes, Control will be the 3rd mode this year. This has definitely caused some controversy, and I'll share what Rambo's thoughts on this are in a second, just because Control, look, to me, I think it's probably the way to go. I like Control more than most people do, I think, but at the same time, I admit it's maybe not the greatest mode, but look, it's better than Domination, at least, so what we had back in Modern Warfare 2019. But look, it's still one of those game modes you might go and get a snack or whatever if, you know, just waiting for the game for hardpoints, but still, it's not capped to the flag. The CTF question mark has been a big one for a lot of people, just because CTF is going to be in this game. We believe Shotzzy thought for a time it was going to be CTF as the 3rd game mode, or at least he leaked that. If he actually meant to, I don't really know. At least it was maybe in conversation. I might have thought that the game would launch, and then the pros get maybe a couple of weeks to figure out what the 3rd game mode should be, then we run it with a rule set. But maybe because the league just starts so early, they thought, you know what, screw CTF, we're just going to double down on Control and make sure we actually have a playable rule set as soon as the game launches without giving anyone time to test things out. Then again, do I think CTF will actually work in this game? It might do, as Rambo says, but at the same time, you know, squad spawns, are these maps really going to work that well? I'd have liked to see them at least test it, though.
What did I miss? Control? It's already been in, like, the game's not even out yet. We're just like, you know what? Let's play Control. Good God. Oh, man. That's tragic. What if CTF's in the game and CTF plays amazing? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, like...
And as Rambo seems to imply, right, the fact that Control is here as the 3rd game mode guaranteed already is a little bit strange, given the fact that you'd have thought they could have tested it if CTF is indeed in the game. But yeah, Control's going to be there. Whether it gets any adaptation, less kills, because it's now 4v4 that maybe we should have done a while ago, I don't know. But still, that is probably what is going to be happening going forwards. This another, what could be a very positive update. Dan also confirmed in the video that they're working now on a match restore tool. They talked about a few interesting stats, actually, the fact that last season, the kind of ping differential between teams in 94% of games was under 10 milliseconds. So he was kind of justifying why they still do all this online play. And he went on to say, okay, last year we focused on making sure that online play was as competitive as it could be. And now we're kind of, well, taking one step further. So, you know, it's okay. Obviously, we wish more stuff was on LAN, but I understand that they want to do it online, costing, stuff like this. And it's really not the end of the world, from my opinion. But this is actually a major thing if this even works. So a match was stall tool they are working on. The idea is here, presumably, that usually if a game crashes, a player logs out or whatever, well, not logs out, but you know what I mean, lagged out of the game, then they have to restart the game from zero, and it's like, well, unlucky, you know, you've got to go again. And it raises all sorts of questions as to whether someone could just pull the plug if you're down by a certain amount of points to try and get a replay. Now, I think they're working on this tool, which has obviously been in many other games for quite some time, and they did have this, I think, in Search and Destroy, maybe even this season, and certainly I think in Cold War, where they were possibly able to restart the game from like 5-4 in one team's advantage, but they couldn't do, you know, they couldn't give anyone kill streaks back, and certainly it didn't work in Hardpoint or anything. But apparently they're working on this match restore tool that presumably will be able to, well, effectively get back to the correct score, potentially give kill streaks back to players if they had them, and maybe even, I don't know if you'll be able to place the players on the map exactly where they were before, like you can in CS, for example, but still, it's a good thing. It's a good step in the right direction, and DanielSci says, if a situation happens where there's a restart, I'm like, okay, when a restart is required, then maybe this happens. Now, look, whether they actually have this ready in time, I don't know, because it might take them a long time to get this ready to go, but even DanielSci says, you know, the tool won't be all-encompassing out of the gate, but feeling confident there'll be use cases where it comes into play. So, good stuff. Again, hopefully trying to improve the quality of online play. The other thing to mention for online play, actually, is the fact that the point system this season is staying identical. I think they really could have looked to tweak this, because online play is massively, not exactly favoured, because you can get more points from LAN, but the fact that you get so many points, 10 points per online qualifier match, compared to only getting 65 if you win the entire major, so you can get 50 for winning all your qualifiers, and only get another 50 for coming second at the major, for example. They're keeping that system the same. I'm not sure what they should have done to tweak it, if they even should have done at all, but I think there's an argument to say that LAN should be weighted a bit more. Maybe keep it at 10 for online victories, but if you win the major, you get 100 or something, right? And then if you come second at the major, you get 75, or just make it so that LAN is higher weighted in terms of point standings for the end of the season. They're not doing that yet, though. One of the things they are doing is changing the grand finals format. It's going to go from best of 9s down to best of 7s. I imagine there's still no advantage for the winners bracket team, apart from the fact that veto advantage will actually play more of a role here, you would think. If the team from winners gets to just choose the vetoes, then they actually get more of an advantage here in a best of 7 than the advantage from winners bracket that happened last season and before. Now, to me, I don't actually mind this at all. I don't know if you guys agree or not, because I think people are very much split on whether they think that best of 9s or best of 7 should be a thing. DanielSci basically said that the viewing experience was quite weary, it dragged on a bit, which personally, especially being from Europe, I do actually agree with, and I reckon their viewing numbers kind of reflect that. When you get to like map 5, 6 of a series, people might just start tuning out a little bit, and Miles seems to be happy about it as well from a casting perspective. So yeah, I don't know, their data I guess indicates that a best of 7 would be better, because at the end of the day, a best of 9 is a long series, and you've already got lots of matches happening before that. Also with the map pool we currently have, it's not always the most exciting just because you get the same maps over and over again. So personally, I don't actually mind this at all. Whether it's good for competitive integrity to make sure the best team always wins, I don't really know on that one. Did it need to be changed? Was there people calling for the change? Not really. And there's still going to be no advantage realistically in terms of a map 1-0 advantage for the winners bracket team. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? Is it a good idea to go to a best of 7 rather than a best of 9? We've had best of 7s in the past. I personally think a best of 9 is just a little bit too long to have. You know, for champs grand finals, that's absolutely fine, because it's on its own day. It's one off match effectively for the victor, but to do it right at the end of another long day of COD after a major, I think it's a bit too much. Personally, I'm quite happy to see a best of 7 come through, and as Bance says, yo Godly, can we go back and change major 5 to a best of 7 from last year, when of course they went up 4-0 and got reversed it back to 5-4, so probably potentially confirming that'll be the only time we see that type of reverse sweep happen in COD history, if it stays as best of 7s from now into the future. And you know, even Panda was given his perspective here on the fact that best of 9s with an advantage is better than 2 best of 5s, talking I think maybe about the challenger side here and the changes that they might be making to the format over there. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Even Riley, from a producer from the OpTic side, saying it's a huge L to not increase the importance of the LAN tournaments. That probably is the thing I would like to see happen next. But yeah, loads of changes here. Control is back, not everyone's happy about that. Challenges, some good progress. Best of 7s, but obviously the point system is not changing. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. And just wanted to to finish off with this that a few people were mentioning. This is the World Championship from Ghosts, I believe. Look at all these different countries that are attending. You've got Singapore players, you've got Swedish players, Germany, Brazil, even you got a player here from the United Arab Emirates. Like, yeah, this is a truly global World Championship a few years ago. I wish we could get back to something looking like this. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.